An Australian-led peacekeeping force is en route to the devastated capital of East Timor. In the U.S., Hurricane Floyd is over, but cleanup and rescues are not. It is 10 a.m. in Dili, East Timor, 6 p.m. at the CNN Center here in Atlanta, and 5 p.m. in Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Brian Nelson, and this is WorldView. Thank you for joining us. Well, for thousands of hunted and starving East Timorese civilians, help is finally on the way. But until the vanguard of a multinational force arrives, the refugees will continue to live at the mercy of rampaging pro-Indonesian militants. The first peacekeepers set sail Saturday from Darwin, Australia, in a convoy of 9 ships. And CNN's Matthew Chance is in the port city of Darwin and joins us by phone.
Well, Brian, the latest we have here is that these ships of the multinational peacekeeping force are still moving towards East Timor, pre-positioning, we're told, by the Australian military officials ahead of an actual troop deployment. 2 naval task groups left Darwin on Friday. The first one was led by Her Majesty's Australian ship Adelaide, which is a guided missile frigate. The other task group included HMS Glasgow, a destroyer from the United Kingdom. Still no word, though, on when the first peacekeepers will actually be on the ground in East Timor. Military officials say it could take some time before these ships are in position off the coast of East Timor and the big airlift of troops can begin from Darwin. But there will be briefings here in Darwin later today from the commander of the East Timor force, Major General Cosgrove of the Australian Army, and an address to the nation later today as well by the Australian Prime Minister John Howard. So hopefully we'll be getting a more clear picture of when exactly these international troops will be entering East Timor to impose some kind of security on the ground there. Now, Australia has placed about 2,000 of its troops on standby. It says it's prepared to commit some 4,500 troops to the peacekeeping operation, one of its biggest ever military commitments. But they're joined by an international force. U.S. troops are on the ground here, more arriving today. Gurkha troops of the British Army already on the ground in Darwin and are expected to go into East Timor in the first wave of peacekeepers, as they did indeed in Kosovo when the international peacekeepers moved in there earlier this year. There have also been firm troop commitments from, among others, Canada and New Zealand, Malaysia, and also Thailand. So it is a multinational force, and one which I think reflects the international concern about the humanitarian crisis in East Timor. Brian.
Matthew, just quickly here, are the troops going to be able to deal with that humanitarian crisis? Have they got the goods to do that?
Well, they're certainly aware of it. They're aware of the fact that there's very little security on the ground for the people of East Timor. Food there is in very short supply. And without any real presence, the international forces, in conjunction with the United Nations, are now organizing food drops. The UN says there are hundreds of thousands of people displaced in East Timor, desperately need food. And so there is a great deal of concern, at least among the military authorities that are preparing to move into East Timor, that with no security there, with very little food, this could potentially be a very dangerous operation, and also one where the forces are likely to face this additional burden of a humanitarian crisis. Brian.
All right, thank you. That is CNN's Matthew Chance in the port city of Darwin, Australia. When the peacekeepers finally arrive in East Timor, they will find thousands of needy refugees who are desperate for protection from militants. CNN's Maria Ressa is the only television journalist to file from the capital of Dili.
Much of East Timor is already destroyed. Its people devastated after decades of conflict and a referendum triggered deadly violence. Amid the ruins, looters taking whatever has been left behind. Much of the violence has been blamed on pro-Indonesian militia. Now their weapons are being confiscated by the Indonesian military, which is preparing to hand over control to multinational forces. But these men say they're scared without their weapons. We're pro-Indonesian, says this man. If the other side runs into us, they'll kill us. Nearly 3 weeks ago, East Timor voted overwhelmingly for independence, ending a quarter-century fight by rebel guerrillas. But to see the divisions in the society, take a closer look at the Indonesian military. These soldiers are East Timorese. On their barracks, graffiti, it says, independence means we're eating stones. This soldier says, if we stayed with Indonesia, this destruction wouldn't have happened. As a soldier, I'm impartial, says another, but as a person, I can't accept independence. The military has always said it would support the results of the ballot, but it concedes it lost control of some of its men, those accused of helping the militia. If we find some individuals did that, we will punish them, says the martial law commander. We will not ignore this, but these acts are not sanctioned by the military as an institution. Priority now, says the military, is humanitarian aid, getting food to the people, and making sure Dili is safe for the arrival of multinational forces. The exodus out of East Timor continues, many of the people saying they fear the arrival of new troops could only bring more violence ahead. Maria Ressa, CNN, Dili, East Timor.
Just back from Jakarta, the Indonesian capital, is Jeffrey Winters. He's a professor at Northwestern University and a specialist on Southeast Asia. He is now in our Chicago bureau and joins us. Welcome.
It's good to be here.
Mr. Winters, as you heard Maria Ressa's report, the question is, will the peacekeepers be able to end the violence and bring calm to East Timor?
Well, this is all coming, I think, very little and very late. But it's very telling that notice that the militia are voluntarily handing over their weapons to the Indonesian military without much resistance, which shows that they have been hand in glove with the military all along. The Indonesian military have been calling the shots with the militia out front. And if, insofar as the Indonesian military is backing out and becoming more cooperative, that bodes well for the UN to be able to go in a relatively peaceful manner and at least establish peace. The broader humanitarian crisis is another question altogether.
Do you fear that the peacekeepers themselves, as some reports are indicating, may come under fire from some of the militias or maybe even from the military itself?
It's possible. I mean, it can't be discounted. And one scenario that I think is not impossible is that as the militia are retreating toward the west, there may be an effort, again, backed fully by the Indonesian military, to have an extended guerrilla conflict launched essentially from West Timor, ongoing, holding down and engaging the peacekeepers for quite a long time. That's not impossible, and we should expect that those militias would be much better equipped and with logistics and everything else were that to happen.
Is enough being done right now for the refugees in this conflict? And there are thousands of them.
Hundreds of thousands of them. And in fact, there's a danger right now of happening what happened in the mid-1970s when Indonesia first invaded. There were many, many thousands of casualties initially with the initial invasion, but the vast majority of the people who died, some 200,000 of them, died because of lack of food, malnutrition, lack of water, disease, and so on, because the very same thing that's happened now occurred then in the mid-1970s. The people fled to the mountains, they became refugees, and they had no access to anything. And it doesn't take long for people to die under those circumstances. So it's all the more reason why the humanitarian side of the effort, in fact, is vastly more important than the military dimension.
Mr. Winters, take a moment here and help our viewers understand what this conflict is all about. Part of East Timor is Roman Catholic. The rest of Indonesia is Muslim. Is this simply a religious war?
No, in fact, religion has virtually nothing to do with this. This is a case of two sides of an island that for hundreds of years had been colonized by two very different powers. On the west side of the island were the Dutch, and that was part of the whole Indonesian Dutch colony. On the east side of the island were the Portuguese, and indeed the Portuguese left in their wake a strong Roman Catholic system and culture. But the conflict essentially today is not one of religion. It is a conflict of an Indonesian aggressive military that rolled in, decided it could take over the territory, did so with the wink and nod of the United States and other Western powers. And in fact, I'm sorry to say that we have quite a lot of blood on our hands in this case because we allowed this to happen. Jakarta all but asked our permission to do it. And then for years after that, we not only blocked diplomatic efforts in the United Nations to settle the Timor case peacefully, but we also armed, supplied, and trained the very thugs who have carried out these massacres now.
Well, thank you for your insights. Jeffrey Winters, professor at Northwestern University.
Thank you.
Joining us from our affiliate station, WGN, in Chicago. In the United States, flooding from Hurricane Floyd continues to exact a heavy toll along the Atlantic coastline in the U.S. In New Jersey, the National Weather Service says that the flooding along the Raritan River shattered all previous records. Floodwaters have begun to recede in Bound Brook, New Jersey, but residents are still not allowed to return home as authorities continue searching for additional flood victims. The deluge from Floyd has also contaminated drinking water. Only the rooftops here visible in the Central Business District in Franklin, Virginia. The rest of the downtown area was submerged in the muddy floodwaters of the Backwater River. U.S. President Bill Clinton issued a major disaster declaration for Virginia Saturday, and CNN's Patty Davis is in North Carolina, which also hard hit by Hurricane Floyd. And she joins us from Oak Island, North Carolina. Patty?
Oak Island is just a few miles from where Hurricane Floyd made landfall early Thursday. A 9-mile stretch here behind me of beachfront homes pounded by the storm. As you can see, home after home crushed, damaged, decks torn off, staircases missing, the bottom level in many cases gone, piers snapped, slammed into homes. Now, it's estimated that half of these homes are no longer habitable, and the destruction, the result of a storm surge, a 15-foot high wall of water smashing into these homes, not wind. Only residents now can enter this stretch. They must have permits, and there's an overnight curfew in place. Luckily, no one injured or killed when Floyd hit early Thursday. Brian?
Patty, the insurance companies are facing a hefty bill. Has anyone put a price tag on the damage estimates?
Local officials are estimating very preliminarily $100 million in property damage and in lost tourism business here, and that's the lifeblood of this community. Brian?
All right, thank you. In Oak Island, North Carolina, that is Patty Davis. Hurricane Floyd may be gone, but Hurricane Gert is another Category 4 storm. It is following in Floyd's footsteps. And for more, we're joined by Bob Allen, who joins us from CNN affiliate WAWS in Jacksonville, Florida. Bob, is Gert going to be a repeat of Floyd?
We certainly hope not, but good afternoon to you, Brian. Hope your day is going well. Gert is out in the Atlantic right now. The concern is toward Bermuda because that's the way Gert is moving. We show the satellite picture right now, and here's Gert, a very well-defined eye. Latest on Gert, in case you're tracking it or just wondering where and what, Gert as of 5 o'clock, latitude 23.2 north, longitude 58.4 west. That puts it about 735 miles east-southeast of the island of Bermuda. It's moving continuation to the northwest at about 10 miles an hour. Sustained winds still 120 miles an hour. So far, for the day today, Gert has not made any progress as far as change. Not stronger, not weaker, and it's still northwest at 10. So over the next 24 hours, it should make its way through the Atlantic for at least 2 days, open waters. Maybe on the third day, we'll see what it looks like as far as its danger to Bermuda. High pressure in the east, especially the northeast, middle Atlantic coastal states, gives a break to that part of the country because flooding conditions still disastrous, especially disastrous in North Carolina. Watch down to the southeast because that area of precipitation will be growing, and of course, it's not going to be dry. It's going to be very wet as a low pressure system or tropical depression may come out of the Gulf of Mexico and move northeastward. That could be a trouble spot. Here are your temperatures. Nighttime lows, cool in the northwest, mild down south. Here are your daytime highs. Hot in the south central U.S. with Texas in the 90s, southwest in the 90s, but cool in the upper west with 50s. That is going to be a little tough. Hope your day's going well so far. Same for your weekend. Back to you, Brian.
No, back to you later, Bob. Thanks. There is still much more ahead on WorldView. In Texas, tearful public goodbyes following the latest incident of U.S. gun violence.
We're not relying on the government.
We're not relying on the company.
We're not relying on a big fat inheritance.
We trade online.
We're betting on ourselves.
$7.95 stock trades, low margin interest rates, comprehensive research, SureTrade.com, a smart tool for smart investors.
Aren't there enough reasons in your life to talk to your doctor about Zocor? To learn more about Zocor, ask your doctor. Zocor, be there.
Ditech.com puts extra cash in your pocket with their new 125% second mortgage with 0 points.
Use our second mortgage to consolidate bills. Pay college tuition. Give your daughter that wedding she's always wanted.
A 125% loan means you can borrow more than the value of your home. And 0 points means you'll save a lot of money on closing costs.
That's up to $150,000 in your pocket.
Log on to Ditech.com or call 1-800-71-FIXED.
I found I was missing all sensation of sight. It was so dark underground, we had seen no light for days. What was visible, how there was the enemy. The fact that they were fighting against their better nature.
For those who combine a passion for living with a passion for living. The Volvo C70 convertible.
Shower them down, Lord, as we pray. Let your mercies fall from heaven.
In Fort Worth, Texas, it's a day of mourning. Funeral services were held Saturday for 4 of the 7 young victims of last Wednesday's shooting at Wedgwood Baptist Church. A community-wide day of mourning is set for Sunday. The gunman, Larry Ashbrook, also injured 7 others before turning the gun on himself. In the wake of the killings, more information is surfacing about Ashbrook. An FBI official tells CNN that he had, quote, every characteristic associated with a mass murderer. Ashbrook's family released a statement saying, "We know that there can never be a satisfactory explanation for this action. We only know that we are heartsick along with everyone in Fort Worth and in the nation." CNN's Jim Hill is in Fort Worth right now with more. Jim?
Well, Brian, the final of the 4 funerals is still going on now in the building behind me here. This is part of the Southwestern Baptist Theological Seminary. This particular funeral is for Sydney Browning. She was 36 years old. She held a master's degree in religious education from the seminary, and she was very active in church affairs. As a matter of fact, at the Wedgwood Church, where the shooting happened on Wednesday evening, she helped the choir. She was a coach or teacher of both the adult and the children's choir at that church. There are some other funerals, of course, that were held today. I can go through some of those for you. Justin Ray, he was only 17 years old. This young man was helping with the band, which was entertaining at the Wedgwood Church that fateful evening. This young man was buried today at a Methodist church. He had aspirations to have his own audio and video company someday. Another funeral today was for Susan Kim Jones. She was 23 years old, a student at the seminary. She also very active in Southern Baptist Community Church affairs. She was a missionary, most recently doing missionary work in the Netherlands and in Saudi Arabia. Also, a funeral today for Sean Brown, another young student at the seminary, also 23 years old, like Kim Jones. This young man was married. He'd only been married to his wife, Kathy Jo, a little under 2 years when he met his untimely death at the hands of Larry Ashbrook on that fateful Wednesday evening. Among the people who were here at the seminary for that earlier service, Danny Brown, his brother.
I got a treasure chest, kind of, you can say, of hundreds and hundreds of pictures, and I'm about to go to the house and break open the treasure chest and look at my treasures and have my family and all, you know, just gather around.
Well, of course, a very sad day for Fort Worth, Texas, and for the Southern Baptist community. And again, as you said, Brian, tomorrow a day of mourning for Fort Worth, Texas. I'm Jim Hill, reporting live from Fort Worth.
All right, thank you, Jim. Coming up on WorldView, voters killed on the way to the polls in India. Also, demolition crews in Russia finish what terrorists started.
Where is it written that one must choose between adventure and creature comforts? There's a cruise line that says you don't have to choose.
You come to me, give me everything I need.
One cruise line, Celebrity.
You're simply the best. Better than all the rest. Better than anyone.
adventure and comfort come wrapped in a brand new package. A magnificent ship called Millennium. Be the first to sail celebrity's new Millennium. This is the way to see Europe.
You're simply the best.
Hi, we're the Osmonds. We're watching you, CNN.
Demolition experts in Moscow leveled an apartment building damaged last week by a suspected terrorist bombing. Relatives of the 93 people killed in the blast watched the demolition. Almost 300 people have been killed in the last 2 weeks in Russia in 4 bombings. The Russian government blames the attacks on radical Muslims from Chechnya who have denied responsibility. 2 Chechens suspected of the Moscow bombings are in custody. In India, a wave of violence erupted Saturday as voters there went to the polls to cast their votes for parliament. And in Kashmir, where some were boycotting the vote, there are reports of individuals being shot by security forces for not casting their ballots. CNN's Satinder Bindra has our report now from New Delhi.
More than 30 people have been killed during the third phase of voting in India, the world's largest democracy. India deployed thousands of policemen in the eastern state of Bihar, but several people were killed in landmine blasts. Police blame left-wing guerrillas for the violence. So far, they've made no arrests. In Kashmir, in northern India, bomb blasts and sporadic firing killed at least 3 people. In the constituency of Baramulla, many voting booths were empty. Baramulla is the center of a separatist movement fighting for independence from India. Authorities say voter turnout here was poor because a separatist group fighting for independence from India called for an election boycott. Some 90 million Indians, that's about 3 times the population of Canada, were eligible to vote in the third phase of this election. Elections in India are staggered over several weeks, so security forces have time to move to remote corners of the country. 53% of all registered voters turned out in this phase. That's the lowest percentage so far this election. Voters in this round are from eastern and central India, an area that elects 140 members, a quarter of all the representatives to India's lower house of parliament. Analysts say parties that do well in these heavily populated areas have a good chance of forming India's next government. After 2 more rounds of voting, polls predict an alliance led by incumbent Prime Minister Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee is likely to form India's next government. Satinder Bindra, CNN, New Delhi.
Now we turn to the Balkans. The Kosovo Liberation Army marched past cheering crowds in Pristina Saturday. Tens of thousands gathered to bid farewell to the ethnic Albanian guerrilla group. As a group, it will officially cease to exist on Sunday. The KLA was given 90 days by NATO to hand in its weapons. It is considered doubtful that the KLA has fully complied with that agreement. Pope John Paul II is planning his long-hoped-for pilgrimage to the Middle East. In Italy Saturday, he discussed the trip with King Abdullah of Jordan. They also talked about the improved climate for peace in the Middle East. And still ahead here on WorldView, a pair of vulture dads wing it as parents.
We don't keep ourselves at a safe distance. We don't have blind faith.
We read.
We listen.
We learn.
We plan to retire rich.
$7.95 stock trades, low margin interest rates, comprehensive research. SureTrade.com, the smart tool for smart investors.
Appreciated. Of course. How are your computer skills? I want to be challenged. That's good. Are you willing to relocate? Who are you? I'm a career manager from Interim. Oh. Do you have a minute to talk about your resume? Okay.
If you're stuck in the wrong job, talk to someone who can help you find the right one. Hey, it's a big step. You could probably use a little attention.
How do you work under pressure? I'd say pretty good.
There's only one job you really want, the right job. So call 1-800-A-CAREER or visit acareer.com. We'll help you find what you're looking for.
We put it together. We pull it apart. We offer a voice where there was none. The New York Times. Expect the world.
Now, finally, at a zoo in Jerusalem, normally unflappable animal experts are, well, they're crowing at the parenting skills of an odd couple of vultures. You see, both of these birds are male. And CNN's Gerald Kessel explains.
Introducing Dashik and Yehuda. Together, they're heroes of an ambitious breeding program to reintroduce griffon vultures into the skies of the Holy Land, where once a common sight, they've almost disappeared. The two young birds they've parented, Diva and Adi Gordon, here with others, now awaiting release from their acclimatization center, halfway to freedom. But why does Jerusalem's biblical zoo consider Dashik and Yehuda heroes? Because they're both male, gay vultures who've proven themselves wonderful parents.
We saw them building a nest, we saw them mating, and we decided, okay, let's see, they're building a nest, they're mating, they're behaving as a straight couple. Let's find out what will happen if we'll give them an egg, an artificial egg. We gave the first artificial egg, and they were sitting, incubating perfectly. So if they are incubating so good, sharing between the two of them, then the next step will be, obviously, to give them a chick to raise.
Oh, we're very proud of them. We think they've done a marvellous job, and they've behaved extremely well. The best parents we've ever seen.
Griffon vultures normally lay only one egg per year. In this breeding program, once an egg is laid, it's taken away and given to a surrogate couple. The female bird then lays a replacement egg. Known as double clutching, this increases the number of chicks, provided there are suitable surrogate parents. But the people in charge of guiding the birds to freedom are perfectly happy with the way the offspring of the gay couple have turned out.
Well, I can tell you some there's stories on both of those birds. Listen, I like it. I prefer a bird that has a bit of spirit. You know, it's the wilder the better. You know, it means that it doesn't like people, and if it doesn't like people, it has a better chance of survival.
Unusual stories about animals or stories about unusual behavior by animals tend to apply human values and emotions to the animal world, and that's a problem. No problem here, however, because these birds have no problem. On the contrary, say their keepers.
We were thinking about separating them and bringing in a female, try to create a couple with one of them. And then we said, okay, why should we do it if they are together, if they are raising a chick together? Why should we do it? Why should we separate them? So we decided to let them stay together and keep raising chicks together.
Gerald Kessel, CNN, Jerusalem.
And we end on a sports note. Good news for Sammy Sosa fans. Sammy Sosa has hit his 60th homer. Happened Saturday. He'd become the first player in Major League history to reach that mark twice. Came in back-to-back seasons. The Cubs were playing the Brewers. And that is it for this edition of WorldView. Thank you for joining us. Reliable Sources is up next for our domestic viewers. Bye for now.
Closed captioning is brought to you by Bell Atlantic, your guide through the wiles of communications.
Sunday, meet the new stars of cyberspace who have turned the World Wide Web into the new gold rush. CNN Perspective, Sunday 10, 9 Central.
It's a hot Friday night at 28 Burton Way. In apartment 6D, Dale is grooving on a live concert. At the same time in 6E, Jennifer's catching a good action adventure. And in 5D, the Pritchards eye a serious drama. Now, here's the twist. They're all watching HBO.